Good evening. Good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and begin now. Hello? Can you hear me okay? Yeah, great. Fantastic. So, right, there we go. So, good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Surbiton Neighbourhood Committee at Glenmore House. Particularly warm welcome to those members of the public with us tonight. I'm Councillor Tom Reeve and I'm chairing this meeting tonight. In the event of an emergency and the sounding of an alarm, the emergency evacuation procedure is to leave the hall by the fire exit, the one behind you, and congregate in the parking lot. Anyone requiring assistance should remain in their seats and you'll be assisted from the building. Anybody who wishes to follow the agenda from their tablet or smartphone can do so by going to the Council's website and following the links to Your Council and Council meeting calendar. This meeting is being filmed for live broadcast on the Council's YouTube channel, and an archived version will be available to view on the channel after the meeting finishes. The broadcast will be suspended during any adjournments in proceedings and if the committee resolves to consider information as exempt business. Members are reminded that microphones must be switched on and spoken into clearly for the broadcast. And can please, everyone present in the meeting also ensure that their mobile phones are switched off or in silent mode for the duration of this meeting, and that includes me. I will start by inviting members to introduce themselves, and I'll go across the hall, and starting on my right there, please.
So, good evening. I'm Councillor Alison Holt, and I represent Surbiton Hill Ward. I'm also a portfolio holder for Economic Development and Leisure, and Deputy Leader.
Quite important. I'm Councillor Liz Green and I'm a councillor for St Mark's and Seething Wells Ward, and just to be clear, also chair of the Planning Committee, just in case.
Thank you. I'm Diane White and I'm a councillor in St Mark's and Seething Wells Ward.
Good evening. I'm Jogan Jogannathan, councillor for St Mark's and Seething Wells Ward.
Good evening. I'm Anita Sharper and I'm councillor in Berrylands Ward.
Good evening, I'm Jackie Davis, also from Berrylands Ward.
Good evening, Mariana Gonçalves from Tolworth.
Councillor Peter Hurlinger, one of the councillors for Alexander Ward.
Hi, I'm Councillor Ian Manders and I also represent Alexandra Ward.
Okay, and we also have officers present who will be giving reports, as well as Sergeant Alloway from the Met Police. So thank you. Removal, I'm required to advise members that in accordance with paragraph 6.3 of the procedural rules for planning committees, the planning application that we were due to hear tonight relating to the land track side of railway line adjacent something. Anyways, there was a mast that we were going to consider under a planning application, and this has been withdrawn from the agenda as no registered objector has registered a speaking slot by the deadline. So that's accordingly been reverted to the Assistant Director of Strategic Planning and Infrastructure to determine under delegated powers and will not be considered by the committee. The responding applicant also lost their right to address the committee. So we are in a pre-election period. The committee and members of the public are reminded to note that the Mayor of London and London Assembly elections will take place on the 2nd of May. And for this election, the pre-election period commenced on the 19th of March. Will normal decision-making can continue in committee meetings held as part of the ordinary business of the council. Care should be taken to avoid the perception that meetings are being used as platforms for candidates or parties standing for election or for public debate on controversial subjects featuring in-party political campaigns. And I would ask everybody to bear this in mind when speaking this evening. So we move on to item 1, which is public questions. And we have a period of no more than 30 minutes for questions on matters relevant to the committee. We'd like to encourage questions to be submitted in advance so that officers and councillors have an opportunity to answer them, although this is not absolutely necessary. So we've had 6 questions that have been received in advance and an additional one that was submitted just before the meeting. One of the questions we received was, what are councillors doing to apply political pressure on TfL and the mayor? And what other avenues are you pursuing? I'm required to notify the committee that this question has been rejected by the monitoring officer under procedural rule 17B4-8 of the council's constitution as a question which would be inappropriate for consideration during the pre-election period in accordance with the principles of the Code of Recommended Practice for Local Authority Publicity currently in force. And the questioner was informed of this ruling earlier this evening. So moving on, so we have, I think we have a total of 5 residents have indicated.
Right, but I think maybe Ms. Mitchell is the only person.
Okay, right, okay, I understand we have 2 residents have indicated that they wish to ask questions tonight. So I'll invite each one to ask one question, and you have an opportunity to ask a supplementary question if appropriate. Any subsequent questions you may have will be considered only after all other residents have had the opportunity to ask their first questions, if time allows. So to allow everyone to speak, we just ask you to keep your question to under 2 minutes and be as concise as possible. And if you wish to preface the question with a statement, also just please be brief on those points. And Herman, our Democratic Services Officer, will inform you when 30 seconds are left and when time is up. So I believe we have Liz Mitchell and Graham Hare to ask questions tonight. I don't see anybody, I don't think there's anybody else. So if I could ask Ms. Mitchell to come forward, please.
Good evening, councillors. Apologies from Alex. He has a work commitment. Simon has a commitment due to being a school governor, and Catherine is visiting her mum who had a car accident recently, so that's why they're not here, so apologies. My question tonight is, when will RBK engage with TfL, and what are the aims of the engagement, and when will residents be able to get involved?
Okay, well, thank you very much. We don't have a timeline for engaging with TfL. We've previously been informed that we have to wait until TfL is ready to engage with the council on this matter.
So why don't you have a plan of attack, and why don't you have any sort of timeframes for talking to them?
Right, as we previously said, as it was stated in the committee report on the 13th of March, ongoing discussions, and I'm just quoting from the report, ongoing discussions with Transport for London have concluded that any traffic restriction measures that may result in displacing traffic under the A3 exit at Tolworth Roundabout will not be considered by them at this time. And TfL is currently not supporting proposals that have adverse implications for their network. They'll review this decision after a signal timing review due to take place after August of this year, when the roundabout works have been completed. So in short, it's in their hands. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask Mr. Hare, if you'd like to come forward, please.
Right. Good evening, everybody. I'll be uncharacteristically brief this evening. So I'm still confused about where my petition about King Charles Road barrier is going to be heard. Just a few days before the February meeting, we heard that a decision had been made to take this to place. The reasons I was given on email was due to wider considerations and the scale of interest. But at the meeting, when we asked the question, we were told instead that place was simply the most expedient committee meeting after the upcoming election. And then at that same February meeting, in response to a question raised by Ms. Smith, Mr. Manders was crystal clear that the petitions for removing the barrier and retaining the barrier would in fact be heard here at this committee. The forward plan, however, is still showing that the petitions will be heard by the Place Committee, currently assumed to be sometime in May. So I hope you can understand my confusion. So could I please ask Mr. Manders to confirm once more that the petitions will be heard and debated by this committee, and if so, when the forward plan will be corrected?
Yeah, it's a direct question to me. Yes, I can't recall me saying that it's going to necessarily be taken by this committee. If you look at the constitution of the council, you will see there's different thresholds for petitions about which level of the council the matter is taken at. At the moment, anyway, the key thing is the officers to work on the information given in the petitions as part of the Barrowlands Healthy Streets proposals. And as was said at the last committee meeting, we're now 5 down on our council highways officers. And so it's taking some time for us to get that and the Barrowlands Healthy Streets proposals together. So it's going to have to be watch this space.
Yeah, thank you. I can help you with your recollection a little bit. You're 50 minutes in on the video of the last committee meeting saying that, if you'd like to look that up. Thank you.
To turn it on, that's all.
Yeah, okay.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Hare.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Right. Did you have another question? Yes, please.
Thank you, Councillor Reid. You just quoted that there were ongoing discussions, but then you said that TfL wouldn't engage until August. So how can one have ongoing discussions and nothing happen until August?
Right. The highways team does work closely with TfL and does engage with them. That's all we mean by that statement. But in terms of having actual conversations with them regarding any changes to the left turn at the A3 or any other mitigations in the area, that will have to wait until they're ready to sit down with us. And they've made it very clear, and they've given us reasons why they won't engage with us until then, and they won't engage with the council until then. So I hope that is clear.
Right. I work in the corporate world, and if there is a program of change going on, then what we try and do is sort of, keep people informed and update them, and so you're not landing something on them cold, fresh when you need to, and giving them background and getting different perspectives on it, so that when you do need to talk to them, it's not something that's completely out of the blue. So why are we not having discussions with TfL, and why are residents not included in those discussions with TfL?
Okay, well, there's really two questions in that question. I think the first part of it is that there are ongoing conversations with TfL, but in terms of having a formal, discussion and trying to reach any decisions, that will have to wait until they're ready to engage in that process. And as I said, for the reasons that they have given us. And as to the level of engagement for residents, it would be a matter for that would be a matter for the highways team to work with TfL on that issue.
So how do I, as a resident, get involved with those discussions with TfL?
Liz, through you, Chair. You've heard this answer from me before, which is that, and I've got to be careful here, obviously, because it's a pre-election period as well. But anyway, my answer is the same that I've given to you on several occasions. We are on TfL's timetable. As it has been said, they want to see how things settle down after they've actually finished the Tolworth roundabout, and also how basically traffic is building up in relation to Signal Park. So that's a process which they want to go through before they're even willing to talk to Kingston Council about the left turn off the A3 into Fuller's Way North. And so we've got to get to that stage and see whether there's anything worth talking to residents about. We don't know at the moment what we're going to get out of TfL on this, but I think, as I've said on previous occasions, don't hold your breath about this. But that's, anyway, the situation that we're in.
Thank you, Councillor Manders, but why wouldn't, you haven't answered my question, which was, when do I, as a resident, get an opportunity to have discussions with TfL? And why wouldn't TfL want to speak to residents who are directly impacted by their decisions?
Chair, I don't know if TfL take representations from the public directly, but I can't see any reason why a member of the public can't write to TfL about this matter and put their case. We have, I've got to be careful what I say about pre-election period, but anyway, there was, I think, a previous question, which has now not been allowed because of the pre-election period, but I can certainly talk to you in private about it afterwards. But yes, I can't see why you can't approach TfL directly on this.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor.
Did you have another question?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Surprise. Thank you, Councillor Reeve, and Councillor Manders. If I can email you and get those details, that would be great. Thank you. My other questions are, when can we start to engage with RBK Highways teams about some of the measures that were agreed at the last meeting?
Councillor Manders.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Well, if the question is about what we do with the money that was allocated by TfL to do the road safety measures in Tolworth Road and related roads, which in the end were rejected by residents, and so we didn't go ahead with that. Officers have put together a very small and modest package of items to use the money, because if we don't use the money, then it has to go back to TfL. So at the moment, anyway, the main part of the proposals is to put a raised junction entry treatment. That's at the junction of Thornhill and Douglas Roads, and also there's another road as well, I think a second road, which we intend to put a raised junction treatment with that. The issue is that we have got to spend this money very, very quickly now before the end of the financial year. So junction treatments in the end are relatively uncontroversial. There's no parking affected by this. So basically, officers are already in the process of going out to get a contractor to do it. So that's the situation. We're going ahead with this. Otherwise, in the end, we will lose the money.
So my question was, when can we start to engage with RBK and highways teams about some of the measures? When are RBK engineers going to engage with residents about some of these measures? Because I believe that there are some measures that can be done without consultation. So we have some great ideas about some trees, some benches and other things. When are we going to be able to engage with RBK engineers?
Okay, well, it's a very tight timetable, but if you have got some great ideas, as it were, ready, then
Yes.
please send them to the council officers with a copy to me and the chair of the neighbourhood.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Meadows.
Yeah, thank you. And then, sorry, Councillor Gonzalez.
Thank you. I just wanted to highlight that those measures agreed last week, they weren't agreed, that we are going to discuss them with highways, and I've been emailing and Andrew has been emailing as well. So the measures are not fixed.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gonzalez. Right, Ms Mitchell, did you have another question?
Yep,
yes.
sure do.
Thank you.
Will road reps for Thornhill Road and Tolworth Road be involved in providing input into discussions such as where slow paint and the smiley faces will go?
Councillor Manders, did you want to pick that one up?
I'm sorry, Chair. I knew that you wanted me to answer the previous question. You'll have to repeat the question.
Okay. Would you like me to repeat the question? Will road reps for Thornhill Road and Tolworth Road be involved in providing input into decisions such as where the slow paint and the smiley faces will go?
Okay, Chair. I don't know is the short answer to that one. So that's not a question that I prepared for tonight. So I'll have to take that away and consider it.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Meadows. Yep, we've got another one.
Another question.
Yep. When will we see the plans for the raised entry points for the corner of Douglas Road and Thornhill Road? Because residents are concerned about what this will look like.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much for the question. I've got that. Detailed design will commence shortly. Typical examples of raised junction entry treatments can be seen at Tolworth Road junction with Hook Road, or the Douglas Road junction with Yule Road, and many other locations, and it will be of a very similar design to that.
So will it be on the Douglas, it will be on Douglas Road then, it won't be on Thornhill Road? That's where people are confused.
Oh, I see. Right. Yes. My understanding is it would be on Douglas Road. Yes, going from the corner to the corner
Okay.
of Douglas Road.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yep. Yeah, I've got another question. In the report last week, you mentioned additional monitoring called Vivacity sensors, saying that they will be used for 1 year, giving data all year round. Does this imply that nothing will be done for a further year?
Okay, thank you for that question. These sensors, the Vivacity sensors, will give us a continuous data throughout the period, but this doesn't imply anything about what might happen as a result. It will be added to the highways information about the area.
Yeah, thank you. Our roads will be the most monitored in the whole borough by then. As we've had the O&D, and we've had 5 strip monitorings. So we haven't seen much evidence of data-driven decisions as a result of all of the monitoring. What further data do you require to evidence our through traffic problem?
Right, thank you again for the question. These sensors are what's known as multimodal sensors. They'll be able to discriminate between different types of vehicles, and that would build a much more accurate picture of the types of traffic and how traffic will change over the course of the year. So thanks very much.
I've still got another question. Thank you, Councillor Reeve. It's interesting that the measures that were agreed at the last meeting target speeding, but we've been having a bit of a battle with RBK because they keep on saying, the highways team keep on saying that we don't have a speeding issue. and we've been told that it's the average speed, but averages don't kill people, speed actually kills people. So our community road watchers have proven that we have a speeding problem. So I'm just curious as to why RBK say we don't have a speeding problem, yet all the measures are to reduce speeding.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't notified of that question in advance, so I'd have to take that away for consideration. But thank you very much for that question.
Okay. And when can I expect a response to the questions?
I will have to. I'll put the question to the highways officers and get back to you as soon as possible.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I ask another question, please?
I haven't been notified of any further questions, so hang on a second. That's fine. Okay. Right. Well, thank you. Yes, please carry on.
All right. Thank you. When we talk about these sensors and the data, you've said that these sensors will pick up all the different types of the different modes of transport and whether they're pedestrians or cyclists or coaches or HGVs. That data is already available with the strip monitoring data. So again, I ask, what additional information are you seeking from these surveys that you don't already have that's going to further evidence our problem through traffic?
Okay, well, thank you for the question. I could possibly give you an answer to that, but it might only be speculation. So I would need to take that away. But I would assume that as they're multimodal sensors, it will be detecting all the different types of traffic. I don't know whether do vivacity sensors detect bicycles as well. I assume.
My understanding, Chair, is that it covers the range of road users.
Right. Okay. So it will also, it could also provide us with a picture of cycling traffic in the area as well, and given this over a period of 12 months, will give us, indication of how traffic is changing in the area over time.
Right. And do the sensors operate at night?
I don't know.
Chair, I don't know, but I can't see why not.
And will the data be available to residents?
I don't know the answer to that. Do you, Councillor Manders?
Well, in the recent past, the council has given out raw data, and it's something that I'm looking at with senior officers, because there is an issue with issuing a raw data, is that without analysis, it can be misinterpreted. And so we want to move to a situation when we when we issue data, it at least has a commentary about what the analysis is by highways engineers. So that's the situation we're moving to. It really depends on the quality of the data and whether it is useful or not. So we'll have to see.
Thank you, Councillor Manders.
Thanks, Councillor Manders. Councillor Reid. One final question, I think. The gasworks on Ditton Road, they're due to commence next week. Does this committee have any, do you know what the road closures are going to be like and where those road closures are going to be and where the traffic is going to be diverted?
Thank you for the question. I believe all that information has been disseminated to residents. There's also numerous advisory signs that have gone up in the area to indicate the areas. Because I don't live on Ditton Road, I haven't received a notification, and there have been signs that have gone up around. I've certainly seen the signs, but they do not indicate the extent of the works, nor is it on the RBK website, along with all the other road working activities at this time.
So there's no indication of the diversion, there's no indication of which part of the road will be closed, there's no indication of whether there will be temporary traffic lights, nothing like that. So, you know, our residents, our neighbours are really concerned that the traffic's going to end up on our road, and we already have more traffic than Ditton Road, which is a B road, and we're concerned that that's going to wind up on our doorstep again.
Okay, thank you for the question. I believe Councillor Gonsalves may be able to help us.
Yeah, am I allowed to say exactly where the roadworks are going to be?
If you have the answer to
Yeah.
that, yes.
So
please.
I received a map today or yesterday, and I'm trying to understand what the map means at the moment, but it looks like it's the junction of Ditton with Hook Road, so it's by Langley. And it's going to be just there. So there will be traffic lights, but it's right at the top of Hook Road. So I'm going to ask some more questions about the map, and then hopefully we can share it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Gonzalez.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
councillors.
you very much for your questions tonight.
Thank you. See you next meeting.
Indeed, thank you very much. Petitions. Mr. Hare, please. Yes, we have 7 minutes left apparently. Oh, okay.
Okay, so the barrier was made permanent in a meeting in July 2021. The minutes of that meeting refer to a small petition with 1717 signatories in favour of the barrier and actually in favour of a few enhancements. Now, I believe that Mr. Eve, Mr. Hurlinger, Mr. Manders were signatories to that petition. So my question is this: if the petition was heard, if my petition to remove the barrier were heard at this meeting, would that exclude those councillors from voting on that issue or not? Everyone's looking at you, Mr. Quinn.
2021.
Sorry?
I had nothing to do with 2021. I wasn't on the council.
Well, thank you for the question. I wasn't a councillor at the time, and I don't believe Councillor Manders was as well. Councillor Hurlinger.
Yeah, as a comment has been made about my signatory, I categorically deny it. I did not sign any petition.
Okay, right. Okay, thanks for the clarification, Councillor Hurlinger. Right. Regarding that, hang on a second. Okay, I would first of all start by saying I don't recall whether I signed that petition or not, so I don't have a memory of that myself. And our Democratic Services Officer can give us his opinion on that question, or we can take it away for consideration with the monitoring officer.
Okay.
Councillor Manders.
Clearly that was a decision made in 2021. I wasn't on the council, and that was about those particular circumstances. I have refrained from signing either of the two petitions, the one for the modal filter and the one against it, this time round while I'm a councillor. I've not signed any petition.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Manders. Right, and regarding the substance of your question, we will take that away and get the advice of the monitoring officer on that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hare. Okay, well, I believe that brings us to the end of our questions session for today. Thank you very much to residents for your questions. Moving on to item 2 on the agenda, petitions. I've had no notice of intention to submit a petition today. Moving on to apologies for absence. Herman, do we have any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies received from Councillor Andrew Woodridge and Councillor Tay Tyler.
Thank you, Herman. Members are asked to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests or other registrable or non-registrable interests relevant to items on this agenda. Do members have any interests to declare? Councillor Khan, were you starting to raise your hand?
Okay, I just to say that I've arrived late, if that could be noted.
Okay, right, okay. Thank you, Councillor Khan. But just to be clear, no interest to declare on any items on the agenda. Okay. Oh, right. Councillor Holt.
So, yes, I just want to declare that whilst I'm not actually linked to Oxygen, I'm involved in a subsidiary of it, and I've declared being part of Street Pastors, which is part of it. So I'm probably going to declare that in the spirit of openness, and I'll not take part in that decision. Thank you.
Okay, so you'll leave the room during the discussion. Right, okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Holt. Right, moving on to the minutes, the confirmation of minutes of the meetings held at the 22nd of February and the 13th of March will be deferred to the next meeting as they have yet to be published. And then we move on to item 6, our community policing update. So this evening, we're very fortunate to have Sergeant George Alloway to give an update on policing matters in the neighbourhood. So I'd like to hand over to you, Sergeant. Thank you.
Hello. For the guys that don't know me, I look after 4 wards: Tolworth, St Mark's, Surbiton Hill and Berrylands. I've been there for about 4 years now, 5 years. Pleased to say that over the last year, Berrylands had the lowest reported crime across the Met. They had under 100 reported crimes. So if you live in Berrylands, it's a very, very safe place to be. That being said, Surbiton itself and Tolworth is a very nice place to live. However, there are 3 crime types that I focus on as it tends to have the biggest impact on public confidence in the community. The first one's burglary. Although not seemingly too high, over the last 6 months, the numbers have averaged at about 10 a month. They tend to go up and down depending on which criminals are released from custody. I know it sounds terrible, but that is what happens. We get certain people that get released and they go out and commit crime. We then put in lots of patrols, lots of pop-up marking sessions, and effectively catch them when they get sloppy, and the numbers go down. So just for example, in November, we only had 3 burglaries across the whole 4 wards, which is pretty substantial. And even going into December, there was 10 and then 5 in January, which is quite low. Usually it goes sky high just before Christmas. We have had a rise in burglary, so cutting it down into the 4 wards. We've had quite a lot in St Mark's. There's been 10 across the ward in St Mark's, and they've generally been around Maple Road and up the north end of the borough, around up by the campus, the Seething Wells campus, not the Seething Wells, the Clayhill campus. Again, it's simply waiting for the forensics to come back and match it to a suspect. In the meantime, we've got descriptions of the offenders, and it's putting the patrols in at the right times, using some of the intelligence we have to try and disrupt and catch those responsible. The second crime type is theft from motor vehicle. Again, the last 6 months, that crime type has averaged at about 10 for the cluster across the wards. There is a certain suspect that has been in prison for the last 4 months. She was released, and sure enough, the last month, the theft from motor vehicles went up on Surbiton Hill, which is where that particular individual used to live. That being said, they have been arrested, and we expect those crime numbers to drop off. But as I said, in relation to the rest of the Met, the numbers are quite good. My team have been doing a lot of marking. I don't know if you've seen them out and about the different the farmers market. We do pop-up marking on various streets, and it's usually the streets where we've seen the rise in burglary or theft from motor vehicles, just to reassure you guys that we are here, and just if the offenders are silly enough to target a road, they can see that we're there if they come back. Just to put your minds at rest. And the final one's theft of pedal cycle, which you wouldn't necessarily think is a really serious crime, but actually the study done suggested that the biggest confidence impact was on people that suffered theft of pedal cycle. So I really do take a keen interest in looking out for pedal cycle crime. We've marked over 600 bikes over the last 6 months at various events, and that's had a really positive impact on pedal cycle crime. Last month we didn't have any thefts at all across the 4 wards, which is really good. And this month's February's only been 2, so that's really good. Whatever we're doing, it's preventing people stealing from our wards, which is good for you guys. Otherwise, ASB-wise, I'm aware of 3 locations that are suffering from ASB at the moment. The first one is Tolworth Broadway, which has a lot of the homeless, not really homeless, they're people that live nearby in some of the HMOs that don't really have much else to do, so they stand around on the Tolworth Broadway and they drink and then cause ASB. We've done a lot of work with the council and with Ty and the shop owners there to try and come up with a good action plan to deal with these people, not letting them have access to alcohol. And we've issued one of them with taken down the ASB process, which eventually ends up in court. That is an ongoing process, but we are seeing less reported ASB from the Broadway. But we are encouraging you guys to encourage your residents to keep reporting it to us, because if they don't report even the littlest of things, we don't know that it's going on. The other one is, we've spoken to Councillor Reeve about it, is some of the ASB that is cropping up on Surbiton Hill around the Alpha Estate, some of the HMOs where people that come out of prisons or halfway houses, as you might know them. There's been some ASB around the residents that live in these HMOs. Again, we're working closely to identify which of these HMOs are causing the ASB, who they are. Then we can go into the private landlords that own these HMOs and put some pressure on them to put pressure on their residents to behave themselves. And if that doesn't work, we can then use the ASB legislation route to try and eradicate or try and improve their behaviour. The final thing, which is very recent, if you've been in Victoria Road after about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we have a lot of kids coming from Easter after school. We have some people from the travelling fraternity of a similar age coming down to Victoria Road, and they are using Victoria Road as a meeting point, McDonald's, causing a lot of trouble to the shops, Boots and Poundland. Again, this is a work in progress with the schools that these kids are coming from, and us essentially flooding the streets and working with the shops to try and come to a solution to try and deter these people from coming to Surbiton. And a lot of that is McDonald's, because they have free Wi-Fi and it is 24 hours. But again, we are aware of it and we are dealing with it. So that just if you can bear with us with that, and I can update you or the councillors for Seething Wells as we go. But if there's any questions the individual councillors have for me, I'm all ears.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Sergeant Alloway. Do you have any questions from councillors for the sergeant? Yeah. Yes, Councillor Sharper.
Thank you, Chair. It was actually to say thank you for all of the regular updates on the bike markings and everything. It's been really proactive and really well received from residents. So a few of them wanted me to mention that tonight, that they've been really impressed and have taken up on the marking and on the Faraday pouches as well.
Yeah.
So they've really benefited from that, because I know that they were concerned about some cars being accessed remotely. So they've taken advantage of the advice on the Faraday pouches. I believe they're Faraday
that's
ones,
right.
and it's really making a big difference. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor White.
Thank you very much. And just to say thank you as well, particularly in St Mark's and Seething Wells, we have amazing police officers. They keep us very much up to date. Becca and Emma are all over the place, including skiing down St Mark's Hill on Ski Sunday, but very effectively around as well. And tomorrow night we have a ward panel, which we've been really struggling in our ward, but it's as you know, it's back and it's going to be really good.
Yes, hopefully. I think I recruited a few at the farmers market recently.
Saw you doing that the other day. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Yes, Councillor Manders.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I've got my Faraday pouch. I normally cycle to these meetings, but tonight I came by car and I've got mine to protect my key. So also, thank you for the marking that police are doing at the moment. It's very effective, and I've had my 2 bikes marked by the police officers when they've been available. So we certainly know that you're planning to do some more events. So if you can tell us where you publicise those, we do put them on the council website, but also where you do publicise those, that would be useful, I think, for the record tonight. My only other comment really is that, and I'm sure you agree with me, is people don't always report stolen goods. So an absence of a police statistic is not necessarily an absence of crime. It's just for some reason people haven't reported it, usually because they feel the value of it is relatively low. But I entirely agree with your point about the bicycle. The evidence is, I think, that about a third of riders give up cycling after their bike is stolen. So it does alter people's lifestyles and how they want to live. So it is a crime like any other. It's not a trivial crime as we may think it to be. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have any other councillors who wish to speak? Okay. I would similarly just add my thanks for the work that officers are doing in Surbiton Hill. I found our ward panel meetings to be very useful. I did have one question, which is just could you give us an update on the sort of the staffing issue in Surbiton Hill for us?
Yep. So recently, the second officer resigned from the Met for that the Surbiton Hill. We have got an applicant that we're waiting to basically have come across. So it would just be when the numbers level out, because he comes from Richmond Safer Neighbourhoods. There's always an argument between both sides as to who gets them. So we have had the Berrylands officer, Ash Squire. He's just been promoted, so he's due to leave us. And again, that's a very sought after role, so I don't envisage that position being vacant for very long. And just for the Tolworth and Alexandra councillors, there are talks about merging or creating another cluster with its own sergeant for Alexandra and Tolworth. That will mean that the Tolworth Broadway will essentially have one sergeant, and the team will, I think, work it'd be a bit easier. At the moment, it's split down the middle between me and another sergeant, so it's a bit disjointed sometimes. So, but that is I'm hoping that's going to happen within the next month or two. But you guys will be updated as soon as I know, really.
Thank you, Sergeant Alloway. And another question, which Councillor Manders touched on, the issue of data, or reporting of crime. What advice would you have for residents in terms of reporting crime to ensure that you've got an accurate picture of the crime situation in Surbiton in Surbiton neighbourhood. Sorry.
I think it's difficult for residents because sometimes 101 and the online reporting tools aren't the best, and you can be left on hold for a long time. All I will say is that social media is great. We hold a lot of online contact points. The Met Facebook web, the Kingston Facebook website page, all the wards have their own, and also the ward email addresses are plastered all over the Met internet page. So if you have something that you think is mainly just intelligence, or you don't think it's a really serious crime, or you don't have the time to report it, just send it over, and we're happy to reply. But I will say that if it is a crime or is an emergency, don't send it to the email address, because it's not monitored on our days off. We don't monitor it. Always phone 101 or 999 if you think someone or something is at risk. But also in regards to the cycle marking, that's advertised on Bike Register and advertised on Facebook and Twitter as well.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Sergeant Alloway. Are there any more questions from councillors? Okay, well, thank you very much for that update, Sergeant. It's very much appreciated. And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or understand if you need to go. Feel free to go as well. But thank you very much for your time this evening and for giving us that update. Okay, moving on to item 7, as previously noted, the planning application that we were going to consider has been withdrawn and will be decided under delegated authority. Moving on to item 8, the community grants program, and we have. We will be considering this, the community grants and granting of councillor ward funding. Members of the committee and meeting participants can refer to Appendix B of the agenda pack for details of tonight's applications. Right, I would just hand over then to hand over to our officer, James Geach, for a brief introduction, and then we'll hear from the various applicants. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as you summarised there, the committee has been asked to consider applications for its community grants programme, and a report for that purpose has been appended to the agenda as Appendix B. The first of these is a neighbourhood community grant application from Athelston Outreach Service, formerly known as Athelston Centre. We're joined by Lisa Blackburn, who's very kindly agreed to briefly introduce the application and to answer any questions the committee may have. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening.
I'm the manager at Alfriston Outreach Service. Very brief background. Alfriston was a day centre from 1949 to March 2020, when, due to COVID and we had to self-isolate, we had to change the way we cared and looked after our older people. The day centre had been daily providing transport, activities, hot lunches, and suddenly we had 35 plus people literally at home on their own. Within days, we managed to create our outreach project, and this was initially just to make sure that they were safe, that they were cared for, and that they had everything that hopefully they needed. As time went on, we could see the needs getting larger and more people needing us. Literally 4 years later, the need for our service continues to grow. But unfortunately, we don't have any money to change the signage on the outside of our building. It still states we're Alfriston Day Centre. We know we're never going to open as a day centre. We know that's never going to happen. RBK have told us. RBK have kindly given us the funding for the next 5 years to deliver the outreach project that we created. But it's time now that we take the next step and that our community and everyone around us knows now that we're not a day centre, but we're still there. We're an outreach project. We offer all kinds of things. People sometimes just need a telephone call. We deliver hot meals, we do their washing, we go to Sainsbury's. You know, it's the practical stuff that these people need, and we are incredibly proud of what we do. But it's time for the next step, and it's just really sad that people still ring us and families still ring us saying, when's the day centre going to open? And 4 years later, I'm still saying it's not. So we need to get the message across. So I hope that you will look at our application for new signage. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much for that introduction. And so members have any questions? Yes, Councillor Green.
Thank you. Yeah, you said you were at 35 when the day centre shut and you moved to the outreach project. How many people are you supporting now?
About 80.
About 80, because you sort of implied it had grown dramatically, but we didn't get it. So
Yeah,
about 80, so it's
yeah.
over double what you were supporting when you were a day centre.
Yeah, more. Yeah. Because some people need a lot of support and some people just need a pint of milk delivered. But everything's a need, and hopefully we provide it. But yeah, probably about 80.
Are there any further questions for the applicant? Councillor Holt, did you have a question?
It's a comment.
Oh, okay. We'll get to the debate or the comments in a minute. Thank you. If there aren't any further questions, thank you very much for presenting that. I will now move from the chair the following recommendation: the application for £3,000 of neighbourhood community grant for Alfriston Outreach Service, as set out in paragraphs 1 to 4 of the report, be approved. So do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Holt, thank you very much. So would members of the committee who wish to speak, please raise your hands. I see Councillor Holt. Okay, Councillor Holt, please.
Okay. So I just wanted to, I've been to the centre, I've met Lisa there. I know that the outreach that they're doing is very, very much valued, as was the day centre beforehand, and it is a shame that's not being provided there, but it definitely is a much needed resource that's there. They do a fantastic job. The washing machines are going, and the making of meals and all sorts of things going on there. So I'm definitely in full support of this. I know it is for signage, but now you've explained exactly why why you need it, and it's to change how it's represented. Then I think we'll hopefully fellow councillors will join me in supporting this application.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. Are there any other comments? Yes, Councillor Shepherd.
I just couldn't agree more after just following on from Councillor Holt, having visited, hello Lisa, having visited and seen how the amazing dedication actually of your staff. Really felt that, and how much you're valued in the community as well by those residents who benefit from what you do. So I wholeheartedly support it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any further comments? Okay. Thank you very much, councillors. Can I take this as unanimous, or does the committee wish to vote? Okay. I'll take that as a unanimous agreement. So thank you very much. That is agreed. And we certainly look forward to hearing back about the. Maybe you could let us know when you've installed when you expect to install the signs, and we can come by and visit the centre. So thank you very much. James Geach, going back to you for the next application, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the committee now has 2 council award funding allocations to consider. The first of those is from Alpha Road Residents Association for their forthcoming celebrations around the D-Day, the anniversary of D-Day. And Mary has very kindly agreed to join us this evening to talk about the trip and what they have planned.
Right, I'm happy to be here for the Residents Association. A lot of residents in our estate are over 65 and most of them are relatively in good health. However, despite various events and cafes that we go to for coffees and teas, there's still loneliness on the estate. I know many residents live alone and they often don't get opportunities to go on trips to meet friends or neighbours. Meeting people is so important, hence why we are asking for funding to book a coach for a day away, and we would love to go to Portsmouth to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. We've been there before, and I can assure you I have not lost anybody. I did bring everybody back. I found somebody in the Cadbury shop there. It's our way of commemorating the anniversary. We did it for Her Majesty the Queen for her Jubilee, and we had a great time. And the opportunities there, you know, there is so much to see, that's what there is, but this year I would love to do the tour around the harbour. We didn't get a chance to do it last year. Your funding will not just be for the coach trip. It's more than that. It's just about reaching out into the community, the individuals who live within the community, offer them a lifeline and some social interaction and making new friends, which we know 2 of them did on the last trip and they're still friends today. I hope you consider my application, and it is a worthwhile exercise, and I look forward to very much coming back next year and telling you all about it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mary. Do members have any questions for our applicant here? And Councillor Gonsalves, please.
Thank you. Just curious, how many people usually attend?
I aim for 30 usually. I usually end up with 35. I always get the bigger coach if I go on the trip. And I try to make sure if grandparents come, I try, if they've got grandchildren that are old enough and would enjoy the journey, I always say yes, because it's company.
Councillor Green.
Very similar question. I was going to ask how many people, but then also intrigued by, so is it families, is it just adults, or are children coming along?
Not very young children, because I don't think that a mixture. We've had young and old on there, but not, say, 5 and 6 year olds.
Right, so we're talking sort of tweens, pre-teens upwards
They can look after Granny while she's out.
But obviously with family members, I'm not suggesting you take a 9-year-old by themselves. No. That's probably not allowed. But yes, so everybody is welcome.
Oh no, everybody's
Where
welcome.
one person at least lives on the estate, but if they bring a family member from outside the estate,
It's
great.
more than welcome.
Excellent, thank you.
Because this is what we organised for our Christmas dinner. We did exactly the same. We offered it to the estate, and if you had a relative that wanted to come on the Christmas dinner, they came with you. Okay?
Okay, do we have any? Yes, Councillor Shopper.
Thanks, Chair. I was just saying, having been to one of the Christmas dinners, I can vouch for the feedback that I got from the residents. They were absolutely buzzing from the trip. So I just wanted to say that, they had a huge beaming smile on their faces, and they said they had a really good day out, like superb day out, and they made new friends, and they just had a really good laugh, and they got out of the house, and so that was first-hand feedback that I got. So thanks, Mary, for presenting that. Thank you, Chair.
The one good thing we did get last year, not 2022 was the last one I did. Last year we concentrated on the little library, but 2022 I was very privileged to get the use of West Ham United coach. I had it for the whole day. And it was kitted out with a kitchen and everything. Wow. Oh yes, it was spectacular.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I've just had an urgent item to consider there. So, yes. So thank you very much. If there's no further questions, I'll move from the chair the recommendation allocation of £1,000 of council award funding for the coach trip to Portsmouth for the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Yoganathan, thank you very much. And does anybody wish to speak? Right, and we're agreed. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Thank you for coming and presenting that to us, Mary. And apologies for the interruption in the middle there. Bear with me just a second.
I think we could just go on. It's just the last one that we go to the election. So, okay.
Yeah, right. Let's do it. Just for the sake of clarity, it looks like some people may need to exit one of the other rooms through this room because one of the entrances has been closed. So there may be a number of people, a large number. Yeah, okay. As long as there's, yeah, exactly, yeah. So moving swiftly on, James, could you take us to the next application, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So the last council award funding allocation the committee's been asked to consider is from local charity Oxygen, and we have John and Charles who've agreed to briefly introduce the application for you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, welcome to the committee tonight. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about the work we do and apply for some funding. Round about in 2020, Oxygen was doing some really good face-to-face youth work and occasionally mentoring. But over the last couple of years, partly because of the COVID pandemic, we've had to reshape and rethink how we work with young people, and faced with not being able to deliver face-to-face work, we've developed quite a strong mentoring programme. That was also with funding from the Mayor of London under the Young Londoners programme, so that helped us to sort of increase our capacity. What I think we've been surprised at is the number of young people that we have since been referred for mentoring. And it's one of those, mentoring is one of those things that's really hard to describe how it works, other than it's one-to-one work with young people. It can vary distinctly from one young person to the next, and it might be that there's a young person who just needs a bit of help to get over an initial problem that they have. It could be some bullying or a bereavement or some challenge that they're facing, and they need someone from outside of their network just to give them that little bit of confidence, a little bit of encouragement, point them in the right direction. And so that can really just take a couple of sessions or just a confidence chat. But then you can get young people where they're dealing with systemic problems in their lives, and the challenges that they face seem insurmountable, and so they develop behaviours and patterns that really keep them fixed in those places. And so when we work with them, it's a real challenge to try and get them to see the world, for us to understand them and get to see them, see how they see the world from that perspective. because without someone coming alongside them and saying, how does the world seem to you, it's really difficult for them then to buy in to any plan that's put forward. So I suppose that's what I would say is one of the key things about mentoring, is we have the ability to meet a young person where they're at, try and get them to describe and understand, help us understand how they see the world, what the challenges are to them. And then we try and look for opportunities, ways of encouraging them, trying to identify what their strengths are, to help them move forward and to see that there is hope. And if I was to describe what we do, it's essentially just trying to get young people to believe in themselves and to see that there's hope for the future. And often they can't see that themselves, they can't see their own potential, and they need somebody alongside them who's going to come in and start from scratch and be interested in their opinion and just give them that sense that they're worth spending time with and someone is investing in them. And that often is enough to give them that sense of, actually, these people are interested in me, I'm going to engage. And I think that's one of the things I really like about Oxygen as a charity. Often we can be working slightly differently to other services, particularly statutory services, where there's resistance at times to engagement. You know, if they're housed, if there are other challenges around attendance at school, often there's conflict and there's a mixed role that the local authority is trying to play. So often having Oxygen come in and play the charity card, it often enables us to get a foot in the door, where perhaps other services could work, but I feel it gives us a bit of an advantage. I think it's really rewarding work that we're doing, and I love the fact that we are working with so many young people at the moment, and the challenge for us is the stretch that we're under. The funding that we had from the Mayor of London has come to an end, and I must admit it feels like we've walked off a bit of a financial cliff. We're trying to make ends meet and trying to get funding in from various other areas, and that's probably why we haven't really needed to come and ask for funding from local neighbourhoods. We've brought in over 200 grand's worth of funding in the last 3 years for mentoring programmes and for work around employability. And the other thing I would say is that, you know, we try and engage young people and look at where they want to go. And if that means that they need help with bereavement or counselling, then we'll try and help them access other services. Often other services refer into us. CAMS Tier 4 services have referred into us because they need to complement the work they're doing with some mentoring support. So it's a very flexible way of working. But financially, we are really needing the help, all the help we can get at the moment, to retain the staff that we have and enable them to engage with the young people that are really in need. The other observation I'd say over the last few years is that previously, I think, when we had a young person come for mentoring, it was the odd one or two who were not in school, who were struggling with education, who were having difficulty. I think over the last couple of years, the support in schools has been stretched and it's been difficult to access because of COVID. And some of the young people, for instance, who were vulnerable, did really well during COVID because they could go in and they got extra help and support from schools. The minute schools went back, you know, young people who were vulnerable then couldn't cope. And so often we've found that some of those young people are now not in education, even though they had support during COVID. So it's a real mixed range of services that we have to offer. But we really try and just start where the young person is at and see where they can go. Some it works really well with, others, sometimes they don't want to engage. We've got a couple of workers who went round to someone's house last week and they didn't come out of their room. But we'll go back and we'll say, you know, try and give them that opportunity and keep going until we feel we can't justify it anymore. So I think that's all I want to say, and just thank you for the opportunity to consider us.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that introduction. Do councillors have any questions for the applicants tonight? Councillor Conn.
Thank you, Chair. So, I mean, the work that you're doing seems to be really worthwhile, and thank you for such a comprehensive introduction as to your work. My question was about the work that you do. I think you have 262 children or young people that you're looking after at the moment or helping.
Can I
Sure.
clarify that? 262 is the amount we've had over the last 3 years.
Okay.
Last year we had 95 referrals.
Okay.
We can't work with all of them at the same time, so there
Yeah,
is a
so
process.
I was going to ask, are you limited as to the number of referrals you can take up because of your financial capacity, or how does it work? Do you pick and choose, or in terms of need, or how do you make that decision?
So yeah, we have to prioritise referrals on the basis of need. As John said as well, you know, we get varying levels of engagement with the young people who are referred for individual support. But yeah, so we've had 262 that have been referred for individual targeted support to Oxygen over the last 3 years, and we've got staff team who serve as mentors, and then we've got some volunteers who serve as mentors as well. But depending on the level of need and the type of expertise, and you know, we need staff who, for example, are trauma-informed practitioners for some of the work that we're doing, or who've got lived experience of some of the issues that young people are facing. And we've got that expertise within our team, but yeah, capacity-wise, we have to make decisions around capacity. We have to manage expectations around wait time when we receive referrals, whether that's from professional services like social workers or schools, or from parents or other organisations, or self-referrals. We have to manage that expectation, but we'll do it on the basis of need. And often in the highest need cases, well, always in the highest need cases, we are part of a multi-agency approach anyway. So we work with multiple young people who are, you know, open on child protection plans. So they will have social work intervention, they'll have youth work intervention, they'll have pastoral support within their school as well.
Okay. And in terms of your funding, other than, for example, what you're asking for today, what's your main source of fund or other source of funding as an organisation? Is it?
It ranges. We're blessed to have support from local churches and some trusts and foundations.
Okay.
We've, you know, put in applications to various trusts, and often they're individuals who know us, who have set up a trust that we can bid into. We're also bidding into other funds across London, and that's been the real challenge as well. You know, there is such a high level of need out there. You know, you all have seen the headlines around young people's mental health.
I was going to say,
there is a lot of competition for the funding that's out there, and it just isn't enough to go around everybody. So we've been putting in several bids and without success, and that's pretty much due to partly the area that we're in and the perceptions that people have of that. And yeah, they're just literally the competition.
I mean, personally, I think mental health in young people is a big issue at the moment, and I think it's probably only going to get worse until it gets better. I think it's underfunded, and I think national government hasn't helped. But that aside, I think what you're doing sounds great, and it's one of the first few projects I've seen which are specifically targeting young people and helping in the way that you are. And I'm keen to see the feedback or the outcome. I think you said that you'll give us a report as to how you spend the money, and I think potentially you could come back and ask for more money, because I think 2,000, considering what you're doing, I think it's not that much money, in my opinion.
We'll take that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Shapper and then Councillor Green.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that, telling us more about what you do. And obviously I can see that you've had some of the outcomes and the achievements recognised this year as well. So my question is, obviously you take children from as young as 10 and up to 18. Do you find that there's an amount of time that you will spend with the young people that come through? I mean, obviously you take them through to 18, obviously each individual need is different. And so I think it was sort of following on from Councillor Khan's comment about it'll be really interesting to see what happens after 18, because obviously you don't just it doesn't just end. So whether you sort of keep in touch with the young people and sort of look at their progress and what they're doing and so on, but you're providing a lifeline for that particular age group. So I guess that was my question, and I've got a comment I'll save till later. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, so sorry, this might not have come across in the application document, but we do actually support young people beyond 18, particularly where there's special educational needs, where they'd be covered, you know, ordinarily up to 25 by an EHCP, for example. So yeah, we're very conscious of not wanting there to be that drop-off, transitions into adulthood is a really, really important area at the moment. And we, you know, the work that we do, particularly with young people on the autism spectrum, for example, or with other special educational needs, means that, yeah, we're acutely aware of not wanting there to be that cliff edge at 18. And in terms of the length of engagement, it really can vary. Sometimes it's about referring a young person into another stream of work that we have, like a youth club or online youth work sessions that we run. We run a Minecraft online youth work project on Wednesday nights. And sometimes it's just a case of getting a young person involved in a bit of support with their socialisation and a community-based kind of solution and a bit of support, and that can be what they need to get on the right track. But in other cases, we have, you know, had lengthy involvement with young people where we're part of, you know, a multi-agency approach to, particularly where we're talking about young people who, for example, are school refusing or have got serious mental health crisis going on, where we're in it for the long haul.
Okay.
Can I just add to that answer in that I think one of the things we try and do is start where the young person is at, but also go at their pace. And if they need us for a short period of time initially, and then they're good to go, I've had situations where we've met with a young person, I've matched them up with a mentor, and the mentors come back almost white-faced, going, "Oh crikey!" They just unloaded everything that's happened, and you know, and they don't turn up again. And it's almost as if they needed just to have that offload. But then the value and the advantage, I think, of what we do is that we're still around. You know, I've been in the borough since 1994 when I used to work for the youth service. And so often we have staff who are embedded in community and will come in and go, "Oh, I've just seen so-and-so." And I actually last week in New Malden saw a young lad that we'd been working with 10, 12 years ago and is now working in New Malden. It's, "Oh, I recognise you, well done." So I think the point is that we go at their pace. And there's actually a lad who's from Surbiton who we were working with through our charity shop in New Malden, and he was absolutely fine. Sadly, his mum's been involved in a car accident and he's been in touch with one of our team. So we're looking to pick up again. So just because we've had an engagement with them and they've moved on doesn't mean that opportunity is closed, that door is closed. And I'd say on the referrals as well, we try and see everybody. It doesn't mean that we engage and mentor everybody, but we try and meet and assess the need, because often when we get a referral, we don't necessarily know what is behind that. And we try and sort of pitch it at the right level. So it's a real challenge to try and juggle everything, and that can mean that we don't meet the needs that we would like to meet all the time. And often, you know, the challenge is the stretch and trying to, you know, there's another young person here who's quite severe need and we need to try and get to them. Who's going to do that? So often I end up, you know, meeting them. But we do use the shop as a good resource in New Malden, and we get young people coming into that. And that's a really good space to have, because it's open access. They can come in there anytime, and there isn't any stigma about I've got to go to, you know, a clinic or anything like that. We're trying to be very accessible and open so that any young person can access us in any way. So is that all right?
Thank you very much for that, John and Charles. And Councillor Green.
Thanks. Mine sort of follows on from Councillor Carnes as well. Do I take it that you applied for £2,000 because that is an individual ward councillor's funding and in all the other neighbourhoods that operate individually? Or is the 2,000 very specific? And then I have a follow-up question, which is actually for James, which is what's left in our pot of money this year? Because I make it nigh on £5,000, and if we don't spend it, do we get to carry it over? So why did you apply for 2,000? We know why 3,000 and 1,000, because it's very specific things that they want to do. This is an ongoing project, so it's as big as you make it, really.
Okay, so yeah, we applied for 2,000 because we thought in the context of pooled ward funding at this point in the year, that was a realistic proposal. However, we've tried to make the support that we offer and the kind of the rough costings and kind of outputs that we have in this proposal sufficiently scalable that you know, if the committee came to a different decision, then that would work.
Sorry, you're a charity, you're not going to go no.
It's finger in the wind, really. Just sort of, you know.
Hey, no thank you. So could I ask James what we have left in the pot and what happens to it if there's anything left afterwards?
Well, yes, James, could you, I see you look like you've got your calculator out there, so perhaps you could give us an answer to that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So at the start of the evening, the committee had £8,938.83 left. They've allocated £1,000 of that. This is just council ward funding, remember, not the neighbourhood community grant. So you have collectively £7,938.83 left to allocate this year. And in answer to your second question, this is your last opportunity to allocate this funding.
Could I put forward an alternative proposal at some point, please, Chair?
I beg your pardon, say that again?
Could I put forward an alternative proposal at some point, please, Chair?
Are you seeking to introduce an amendment, Councillor?
I think I might. Is that acceptable?
That would be, considering I haven't proposed the amendment yet, so
oh, right.
Bear with me a second. Sorry, if all councillors are generally in agreement with this, which I think everybody appears to be, speak now, as they say. Okay, then I am supposed to move the recommendation. And I'm sorry, James, could you repeat the figure that we have left
So
there?
if you're allocating the remaining sum, it's £7,938.83.
83 pence. Right, okay. maybe we'll, yeah, okay. Right. So I will now move from the chair of the following recommendation that we allocate £7,938 of councillor ward funding to the youth work charity Oxygen, as set out in paragraphs 7 to 16 of the report. Do I have a second? I think Councillor Green was there first. So thank you very much, Councillor Green. Does anybody wish to speak on the? You wish to speak on?
It's only I've known Oxygen for years, and they do some amazing work, and they've modified over the years what they do to meet the need as it is at any particular time, and they're very, very good at doing that. And if the other councillors don't particularly know their work, get in contact, go down, have a chat, go into their charity shop in New Malden, which doesn't open on a Sunday. That is a downer for it, because I go charity shopping on New Malden on Sundays. But other than that, it's brilliant. But meet up, have a chat, because it is amazing what they do.
Thank you.
Do I have any other comments from councillors? Councillor Jürgen-Nathan.
I will endorse that one fully. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor.
Yeah, I just want to say I think it's amazing that we've been able to allocate nearly four times what they've asked for. It's money well spent, and thanks to Councillor Green for the amazing intervention.
Do we have any more comments from anybody? Councillor Shapper.
I just wanted to share a little note I wrote on here saying the power of looking for opportunities. That's what I summed it up. So well done, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much for that excellent suggestion, Councillor Green. I was a little bit worried what we were going to do with the remainder of our councillor ward funding. So this has been an opportune event for that. So we haven't voted on it yet. So I was going to. This is my comment, and can I take this as unanimous, or do we wish to vote on it? Okay, I think we're unanimously agreed. So thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you very much for coming here tonight and presenting to us. It's amazing work that you're doing, and we're very pleased to be able to support it in our small way, and look forward to hearing more about it in the future.
Yeah.
So thank you very, very much.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, I'm blown away. I'm really amazed, and thank you for the endorsement. It is really hard work, and you go to sleep at night knowing that you haven't met the needs that you'd like to meet, and to have this sort of the comments and it really does boost, the energy for us, and the team will be really amazed that this has happened. Am I allowed to shout about this tomorrow morning? Or okay.
No, you can't tell anybody.
Because I know
we're very shy. We're very, very shy people.
There are some will consider this a miracle, so I'd like that to get in there as well. But yeah, I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John and Charles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But thank you very much, John and Charles, for coming and presenting, and again, and thanks for the work that you're doing in the community, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I just need to, well, that was very good. I need to now move on to the councillor award funding arrangements for the next financial year. And the question before us is if we wish to make any changes to the current arrangements. And I'll just ask James for a quick introduction to that, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, that's a good summary. The committee has been asked to consider its council award funding arrangements for the next municipal year. Members will note that usually this is considered at the start of each municipal year, but we've received feedback from the other neighbourhoods who don't award their council award funding by committee. They didn't like waiting to the municipal year because it doesn't allow them to allocate until the first meeting of the year. So that's why I bring it forward now rather than at the start of the next municipal year. The arrangements as they were in previous years. You can continue the existing arrangements whereby your council award funding is pooled, is allocated by committee, or you can revert to the model operated by the other neighbourhoods and allocate it individually, £2,000 per member. And the third option, should you choose it, is to put it all into neighbourhood, or some of it into the neighbourhood community grants pot instead. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for James on that? Okay. Does anybody, we have a kind of a selection of options, but I would, I think the, am I to understand there's a consensus that we'd like to carry on with the current arrangements? Yeah, indeed. That we wouldn't have been able to do that under any other arrangements. Okay, so I will move then from the chair that we carry on with the current arrangements for the next financial year. Do I have a second for that? Right, Councillor Hurlinger, thank you very much. Any debate, discussion? Are we agreed on that? Yes, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, so could members please note the work programme in Appendix C of the agenda, and does anybody have any comments on the work agenda? No, thank you very much. There are no urgent items, so I close the meeting at 9:05. Thank you very much, everybody.